Now, San Antonio Living.
Welcome back to San Antonio Living. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about addiction, but focusing on recovery, because there's a place here in San Antonio to help you and your loved ones. It's called SOBA Recovery Center, and we've got the SOBA team here to talk a little bit more. Of course, you know, actor Daniel Baldwin is with us this morning. Eamon O'Hara is from the SOBA Clinic in Malibu. Alex Sergici is here, and Greg Hanley, both with SOBA Texas. Good to see everybody.
Good to see you.
You know, I'm going to start with you, Eamon, because you two have a history together, and your friendship goes back a long time. And I know that Daniel was very instrumental in your recovery, but it all started on a day that probably was a very scary day for you. Tell me about it.
Well, first off, the last time I was on television with Daniel and Greg was my intervention almost 7 years ago.
Okay.
And it was, you know, coming home to my parents' house thinking I was going to come help them with a few things they asked for. And we have Daniel there doing my intervention, Greg supplying the facility. And my first thought was I was just completely in fear.
This is a picture from a segment that aired on ABC when your intervention was filmed. Were you shocked? Were you mad? What was going through your head?
There was all those thoughts going
Yeah.
through my head, and my first thought was, I'm not going to go through with this. When they tell me I have to go to the local facility, I'm just going to throw a fit and leave, and that will be, you know, my out. And, you know, they sat down and they explained some things that maybe life wasn't working out for me. So I ended up agreeing to go to Malibu, and through that I learned how to live differently over a course of, you know, a long period of time, about a year. And it really changed everything over that time.
How long have you been in recovery?
Almost 7 years.
7 years.
And he's being very modest right now, as Greg likes to do with his facility. Once people have gone through there and realized and are part of the family, his grace has been such that he employs many of the people. This young man sitting next to us right now has a beautiful family. His wife is the CFO of SOBA. He is the director at SOBA, and it has become, again, another jewel in our crown of amazing people that have graduated from this program under the tutelage of Greg and the SOBA Recovery Center.
Well, Greg, let's talk a little bit about that, because, you know, this is more than a business. It's way more than a job to you. The recovery process and the outpatient process is so important to SOBA.
Well, and he's an example of it. Coming in, and we laugh about what it was like at 30 days for him, because you know, everything was still out of kilter.
Right.
And changing, Eamon going from residential into the sober living and getting a little time under his belt, it gave us time to get to know each other, plus also we found out that he had a lot of good skills and things that he hadn't been using for a while. And you know, he's a product of his outcome. I mean, Daniel even is being very humble. Eamon is not only the director of the main facilities in California, but he's a partner on 2 of them, him and his wife are.
One of the fundamental beliefs of SOBA is that recovery cannot happen in 30 days. Recovery is a long process, and you've got the facility, you've got the team to facilitate that process. And working now at SOBA, what's it like for you to see kids, guys come in, girls come in with the same problems that you had and want to fight it, you know, but they've got to embrace what's going on?
I share my story, and I can totally relate to them and walk them through, you know, I went through this, I went through that, we went through this. There's a lot of trained staff that we have, and most of us are in recovery. We can just help them with the things that they're going through and, you know, meet them where they're at. It's a long-term process. That's why it's a long-term program.
Right. Absolutely.
And it works.
Try to keep in mind of how long it takes you to get to the point where you say, oh my goodness, I'm in trouble, I need help. That's usually years of addiction and years of trouble and so on and so forth. It doesn't take a month to get out of that.
Yeah.
And our message to everyone is, you know, we love SOBA, we know how well SOBA works and everything. We just want anyone that needs help out there to ask those questions. And as Alex always says, it starts with a conversation. Start having that conversation and get some help, because you need it.
And Alex is the one that usually is answering the phones over at the SOBA facility. And you're hearing these questions from people about what you guys do, how the intake works. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the difference between SOBA and some of the other facilities out there and why the SOBA program works. We've got more with our friends from SOBA here in San Antonio when we come back. Welcome back to San Antonio Living. This morning we're spending some time with the team from SOBA talking about addiction and recovery. And just to refresh your memory, actor Daniel Baldwin is here. We've got Eamon O'Hara, who is up from SOBA in Malibu, Alex Dragici and Greg Hanley here with SOBA Texas. And I want to start with you, Alex, because I know you're the director of intake and operations, and you talk to a lot of people on the phone. And we put up that phone number for SOBA Texas. I know that our viewers call. I know they have questions. Do people ask you about interventions? Is that, I mean, do you have to have an intervention before you come to recovery?
You don't have to have an intervention, but they do ask about it. Usually if a mom or a family member is asking about an intervention, it's because an actual conversation didn't work. So we get a lot of phone calls, and it's usually they just want to know, they want to be educated. What does it look like? What do I need to do? How do I get my son or my daughter or my wife, my husband in? And I mean, it's a really quick, easy conversation. We explain it to them. And once they know, they feel better instantly.
Yeah. That word intervention seems scary to me because it sounds just like a scary thing, a scary process. Did your family have a conversation with you that didn't work, didn't hit home with you?
They didn't bring it up to me until they had apparently been talking to Daniel for a few months.
and your families knew each other for a while.
Amy's mom goes to church with these are neighbors of my mother and my two sisters, so they knew Eamon's mom for quite some time.
And Greg, does that happen with a lot of families, that there are failed conversations, sometimes 2 or 3 conversations where mom or dad or wife to husband are trying to say, I know there's a problem, but you just tune them out?
Well, it can be, but more often I see family members that are afraid to have the conversation. They're so scared that if they say something, their kid's going to run off, or their wife's going to run off, or that they just don't know how to even open it. And I'm not a big fan of interventions or even the word intervention. It has like a like you say, a scary connotation to it, where, you know, it was I'm more of a conversation, and you got to open up the dialogue to be able to have somebody. When I do, I guess, what you would call an intervention, my goal is to have the person want to do on their own, for them to make the decision that they don't like how they feel, and they'll consider changing it. At least taking a look at it.
So that's the goal, and you want to have this conversation out of love and not out of anger, right?
Well, the difference too, as it goes, like many things, you know, about SOBA in particular, is that you can substitute the word intervention with professional guidance. You know, so it's not us coming in and saying, you've been bad, you need this, if you don't go, you're going to jail. You know, it's, this is what's going on, and here's what we have to help you, and we can change this together. What do you think? Greg said a great thing at the intervention with Eamon, and he said, you know, we could just go on out to Malibu together and get away from all this for a little while, you know, and just stop all that stuff that's going on and take a look at it, you know, and I know, Eamon, you know, how did you feel when that was said to you? I mean, it was
an escape. You know, I didn't have anything going on there. I was a 22-year-old who didn't know what I should be doing at the time, and I had somebody come in and give me another option and really believe that I could change, and then I started to believe that I could change. So that's where it started, right there in that living room.
Basically, at the end of it, I told him, I go, look around you. You have like have a movie star and film people in your living room, and it's snowing outside. You want to go to the beach instead? And he took a second and goes, okay. And I said, come on, let's go. Let's get out of here. It's freezing.
You know, you said something that resonated with me, that they believed in you. Because a lot of people who are stuck in that addiction cycle, the people that aren't the ones addicted, we stop believing in them. We don't think that they can get out of this cycle, you know, because we've seen them fail. So it's a chance to kind of take a look back and throw your support behind someone, and that's what you guys are doing.
You know, and the great question too, and I've heard Greg say this before, is, well, let me ask you something, Mark. Are you happy with how your life is right now? And you know, any addict will tell you, if they're sobered up a little bit, even momentarily, they'll be like, yeah, no, I'm really unhappy right now. Well, come on, let's go get happy about stuff and enjoy our lives. And you know, that's what, when you offer it in that way, it's so much more powerful and makes so much more sense that even when you're still a little foggy, you kind of just want to go, okay, and you reach out and take that person's hand, and they walk you into a place that's a lot happier.
Yeah. Other important tips to think about, make it comfortable, and we spoke about this, the fact that this should be a conversation, not a threat. And one of the things I do want to get to, Alex, is the difference between SOBA and other facilities out there, because a lot of treatment facilities say, hey, you're in, you're out in 30 days and you're cured. You know, that's really not true. It doesn't work that way, and that's what you guys have discovered at SOBA.
Completely. So I'm not going to talk about what the difference is. I'll just tell you what we do, and then you'll hear the difference. First off, being that probably 95% of the residents that have come to SOBA Texas in the last 5 months have been to multiple 30-day treatments. And since they came to our facility, they're still with us 4 or 5 months. And after 5 months, we're learning things, or a therapist is learning something about somebody that it took 5 months for them to get comfortable with their therapist to say. So if they would have left 4 months ago after 30 days, we wouldn't know certain things.
Right.
You know, so it's a really long-term process, and it's really individual. So
the process really only starts, you know, when you're hitting that 30-day mark.
And to their credit, what we're dealing with here is, so I pushed the button and the air conditioner didn't go on. So you call a professional and say, why isn't the air conditioner working? The same will be said of what's happening at this facility. This is not just one size fits all. This is, what is it after months of time that you've been here that we start to discover may have been in a situation at home as a child. And those trust issues for some of these people that have abuses or whatever it is that they're dealing with, they don't come out in 30 days.
Right.
You're not going to sit there with somebody if you have issues from when you were a child and in 30 days tell them, oh, this is what's going on. But after months and the repetition of winning that trust with their therapists and their counselors and so on, suddenly you get to address what is the core issue that could be behind this addiction. And that's something that's long-term sobriety.
Well, you guys all at SOBA, they've had a lot of success with recovery, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the process, plus tell you about the San Antonio facility when we come back. Welcome back to San Antonio Living. This morning we're chatting with our friends from SOBA, and it's a tough topic, but you know what? Behind the scenes, we are all having fun together because this is a great group of people, and I can tell that you guys are such a family together. SOBA Texas, of course, in the Texas Hill Country, brought to you by Greg Hanley, Alex Sturgici, actor Daniel Baldwin is here, and we have also got our friend Eamon from the Malibu facility joining us as well this morning. He's been sharing his story on an intervention that happened with this guy in his house years ago, and since then he sort of, well, you can't get away from SOBA. You decided to stay, and you're helping others at this point.
Now. It really is home.
I love to hear that.
It's changed my entire life.
Yeah.
I have passed my wildest expectations with what is going on with my life, thanks to Greg, thanks to SOBA. And these guys stepping in was the very beginning of it all. I have an amazing family now and opportunities that I could only dream of before.
And I think it's important to mention, Actor Daniel Baldwin may not step into your home, but there is a team that can help you right here in the Texas Hill Country. And the SOBA facility, it's absolutely beautiful. It's relaxing. It's very comfortable. And you've got a fabulous team of people working with you to help understand the root of the addiction. And I think that's very important. You're seeing some video here of the SOBA facility up in the Texas Hill Country. But Greg, I hear we've got a new facility that's opening up in Boerne. Tell me about that.
Yeah, the Boerne location is a outpatient that's in connection with also a doctor that can do outpatient detox for people that don't have the ability to check in, or work isn't going to allow them to, that they can go for a couple hours, a couple of days a week, and still get the same quality therapy and at least get some tools to help them get going. And we just so also we have multiple facilities that are geared towards people that have different maybe different lifestyles. So I've got one in California that has a lot of over 40 moms that might have gotten on pills. Although we were having pizza with a guy yesterday who was saying, in 10 years I couldn't get off these pills, and I did it through your facility.
We're going to probably invite him on next month.
Yeah.
The success stories are amazing, and it's so important to hear them, because it's just, you know, you bring these people that have been through your program, and I hear their stories, and it's amazing to me the hard time they had before they came to SOBA. In fact, same story for you. I mean, you went through how many
people
programs?
don't realize that I went through, and the cachet supposed, the ones who write the books, Hazelton, you know, I went through all of them 9 times until I got to Greg. But you know, more importantly, I think people need to know, Greg, who are those people? Most people, some people who have moms, their jobs, the people that can come to Boerne are people that can't fit into that stay in and leave their family or leave their job. Can you explain?
Well, and it's a big step to just go check into treatment and stay overnight and and it's kind of also, it's a place that you could get familiar if you're a little anxious about what it might look like, and come in and meet some people and see if that level of care is something that's going to be comfortable for you.
Or maybe you just need a tune-up. Maybe you are in the recovery process, and you know, you're having a tough week and you need to talk to somebody.
Well, and there's a lot of treatment centers out in the Hill Country that we're doing aftercare for them out in that area, where there are people already living out there, or it's just it's another option. We want to have another option.
And you mentioned something, and I go, what? You know, moms who are addicted to pills. It happens. It's here in San Antonio. It's moms addicted to pills. It's kids addicted to drugs. It's moms and dads addicted to alcohol. Whatever the problem is, you guys have someone to get to the root of the problem and to start fixing this and to take care of it, you know? And I think it's so important to get the word out that we've not only got this great facility in the Hill Country, but we've got this facility in Boerne, which has an open door and is ready to help you if you need to get in there. The phone numbers are on the screen. Take a look. SOBA here in San Antonio, SOBATexas.com is the website. And the phone number, if you've got questions, if you need more information, it's 866-547-6451. We've got a final wrap up when we come back. Welcome back to San Antonio Living. We've been spending the last 30 minutes talking with our friends from SOBA Texas. Real quick, Alex, I want to talk about insurance, because I think that's something that keeps a lot of people away from the phone. You guys take insurance.
We do. It's important. We don't want finances to be a reason somebody doesn't reach out or get the absolute best help that they deserve. So we absolutely do. It's a simple process to verify it. It starts with the phone call, and we'll see what we can do and help and educate them.
Okay, and Eamon, I want to end with you, because you're here in San Antonio. What would you say to people at home, maybe it's mom and dad who had a kid just like you, or the kids watching today, and they're ready to take control?
Well, I think the first thing is, if you think that your son or daughter has a problem, the answer usually is yes, and usually it's 10 times worse than you actually know.
Okay.
So step in, don't not do anything. I was lucky enough to get a second chance. I may not have. My big accident was me falling asleep at the wheel on the highway in my car, and then my mom reached out to Daniel. That could have gone differently.
I'm so glad she did. It could have been different, but we don't want it to be different for you. Call SOBA Texas. Get help. Get the answers you need today. Again, SOBA Texas.